Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Gabby and welcome to Knitting Podcast number 2. It's been about a month since I have filmed my first podcast, which I will link if you haven't seen it. And I have a lot of updates. We'll just get right into finished objects, which is what I'm wearing. My Mudo sweater! She's beautiful. She's blocked. She's fresh. I am so excited about this sweater. It's my first official color work sweater. And I had a lot of fun knitting it up. I think color work is my new favorite thing because I have a couple new, I have some whips to talk about that feature some color work. But talking about this one, I knit this in Berroco Vintage DK. It's a mix of 52% acrylic, 40% wool, and 8% polyamide. And I knit this in the color mushroom and red pepper. It was a really nice yarn to work with. This was my first time working with Berroco Vintage. I think it's probably one of my new favorite yarns because I have very sensitive skin. I can tolerate this, which is really nice. And that's really hard for me to find. The knitting process was really smooth. The yarn has a good bounce to it. It was really comfortable on my hands and it worked up really quickly, honestly. I love the 2x2 rib and the little contrast detail on all of the cuffs, which is really, really cute. I'd never done that before. I knit the size 5, which got me the recommended positive ease. I started the ribbing with 4mm and I just continued the body with 4mm. And then when I got to this first line of color work, I decided to up my needles to 4.5 because my color work was looking a little bit tight. And so I just stuck with 4.5 throughout the whole body and then went back to 4mm on all of the ribbing. And that looks really nice with this yarn. I did hit gauge with all of it, so that was really good. I have never really been one to pay much attention to gauge, but I'm trying to be much better about that because it really does make a huge difference. I also did the optional neck shaping and I did German short rows, even though it recommends wrap and turn. I'm just more familiar with German short rows and I like how it looks. The slipping and yarn over fills in the gaps really nice when you're turning. Another thing to note is I held my main color in my right hand, so I was throwing my main color and I was knitting the contrast color Continental. So it was a lot of fun working with two hands. I'm typically a Continental knitter because it's much faster. Even still, working with both hands, you would kind of get into a good flow with it. And the pattern repeat is really easy to memorize as well because it's the same amount of stitches, just repeated every other. Once you get going, it's really easy to get a little flow going, and then all of a sudden you're done with the round and then you're doing the next one. So I really enjoy color work for that reason, because you kind of just get lost in what the color repeat pattern is, and then all of a sudden you're done with your round and then you just do the next one and it's the exact same thing. And it's just so fun to see it work up. I really enjoyed it and had a lot of fun with it. Another thing to note is I did a sewn bind off, and I just did a regular sewn bind off. So for the contrast detail on the cuff and the bottom rib, I just knit one row in the contrast color and then just did a sewn bind off from there, so I didn't have to rearrange stitches and stuff for 2x2 because that can be really tedious and I just didn't really have the patience for that. So that was super easy. Looks really nice. And I took final measurements for this as well. It measures 15.5 inches from the bottom of the neckline through the body, and it hits about belly button length for me. It also measures 8 inches from the underarm and then 23 inches across, laying flat. It did get me the recommended amount of positive ease and it fits me really well. It looks really good. The sleeve length I was kind of nervous about because I wasn't sure how much the yarn was going to grow with blocking, but it was perfect. I tried not to stretch it too much. And I would say it probably grew about a half an inch all over with blocking. To be honest with you, while I like the length of the body, I might try blocking it again and stretching it out just a little bit to see if I can get some more length in here. Because I do like where it hits, but I almost would like it to sit maybe a half an inch to an inch longer than it does. So I'm going to try blocking it and see if I can stretch it. And if that doesn't do enough, I do have enough yarn to go back and add a little bit of length to the body. So I'm considering doing that depending on how it blocks. But other than that, I'm so stoked about this sweater. It is so beautiful. I am so proud. I will cherish it forever. And yeah, that is my Mudo sweater. This is by Sasky & Co. I think she is one of my favorite designers because her patterns have a lot of woodlandy, outdoorsy kind of color motifs. It's very much like a granola kind of vibe, if you will. And I'm super into that. A lot of her sweaters are also done in like a round yoke construction because she has a lot of color work. And just knowing like how well this pattern was written, how easy it was to follow, and just loving the end result, I am definitely inclined to knit some more of her patterns. So yeah, there's my mudo sweater. Okay, so getting into whips. I have quite a few updates for you here. I have given myself permission to give up on a project. So let's get into that. I did finish one Sunday sock by Petite Knit. This is a gift for my boyfriend Tyler. They have been a work in progress for quite a long time, I'll be honest with you. These are knit with Sandus Garn Perfect. So here's the deal. I finished this and the foot is too short. It's even too short for me. I won't have enough yarn to add enough length to the foot to fit Tyler. I thought about just adding enough length for them to fit me, but I really sat down and I thought about it, and as much as I want to be a sock knitter, I love the finished object, and I love the idea of having a drawer full of hand knit socks. But I'm just gonna be real with myself and just admit that I don't like knitting socks. I don't. As much as I want to, I don't. So I am allowing myself to let this project go. I'm going to frog this sock, and I do have a full skein and just a tiny bit of yarn left over from knitting this sock, and I'm just gonna make something else with it. Maybe a sweater for Rowan, my daughter, or maybe like a hipster hat. I think that would look really nice because I love the 2x2 rib. Like with this yarn, it looks really, really good. I was thinking about this too. Like, I don't necessarily want to completely write off knitting socks because I love the idea of them so much. So moving forward, I'm gonna try a different construction. I've always knit socks cuff down. I've never done a toe up sock before. So I'm gonna try that construction and see if I like that any better. I also hate doing a slip stitch heel and gusset. The Sunday sock does like a short row heel, and you still have to like pick up stitches for the gusset. I think that's what it's called. And I just don't like doing that. So I wonder if maybe if I do like a toe up sock with a short row heel, I wonder if I'll like that better. So we'll give that a shot before I completely write off knitting socks. But yeah, I really sat down and I just am giving myself permission to just not do it. And that's okay. I tried my best. Tyler understands. And we're just gonna move on. You know, we're just gonna move on. Next in my whips, I have a lot of progress done. I don't think I even had the sweater cast on for my first episode. So let's just get into my Lumme sweater. I will first show you the swatch that I knit up, which is so beautiful. This is also knit in Berroco Vintage. So I knit up this swatch mainly because I wanted to see what colors I wanted to put together. And so the main color is Barnhouse, the white is Mushroom, and the yellow is Marmalade. I initially just bought Marmalade with the idea of just doing like one contrast color, which I do really like how this has worked up. But then I was at my local yarn store and I was like, what if I did Mushroom as a contrast color? So I was looking through Ravelry and I came across this project that implemented 2 contrast colors, and I'll insert a picture here. I thought it was so beautiful, just like doing the different sections in 2 different colors. They also incorporated the color in the flower motif, which I thought was really beautiful. And so I kind of based my color work off of that photo. After seeing this all together, I was like, okay, what if I just did both of them? I also did a poll on Instagram, and I jokingly have been referring to this as like my condiment sweater because like the red is giving ketchup, marmalade is giving mustard, and now mushroom is giving mayo. So I was like, what combination do I do? Ketchup and mustard, ketchup and mayo, or ketchup, mustard, and mayo. And using all 3 won. And I was kind of leaning towards that anyways, but it's just, you know, nice to see what other people think. And so I decided that I'm just gonna do each section of the color work in alternating contrast colors. So that's what we did. Now let me show you and then we'll get into the details of it, okay? I've done a lot of work on this, okay? I have the whole body done. Oops. Oopsies. It's gorge. I mean, come on. This is blocked just because I wanted to see how much the color work would grow before doing the sleeves. But like, look at how beautiful this is. I'll insert some more like close-up video of the color work. But like, how beautiful is that like yellow and the flower and the alternating sections? Like, it turned out so good. It turned out so, I am so proud of this. Are you kidding me? Like the mudo was one thing, like this is just a simple color work, nothing too crazy, but like this with the multiple motifs, I mean, come on. I just admire this. Like it's been laying flat on my coffee table in my living room and I've just been admiring it while it's been drying. I mean, it's so beautiful. And so here's the modifications that I have done. So the pattern calls for a double folded neckline and I just decided to do like a single neckline. I've done 10 rows on this. It's the recommended length, which I think is like 1.5 inches. It's just not folded over. I do love a double folded collar, don't get me wrong, but in a lot of the pattern photos it looked more like a mock neck, like it was sitting up pretty high, and I didn't want that, so I wanted to give it some room to kind of stretch. And I do like the way that it fits. It sits really nice on the neck. And I think even with the sleeves, it's going to add some more weight to it. So we'll pull it down just a little bit more. So it won't be an open neckline by any means, but it will just kind of sit a little bit lower, which I like. I guess another modification, I'm not sure if you would consider it a modification, but I split for sleeves immediately, like on the next row after this bottom colorwork section, because I did hit the length requirement for the yoke for my size, which this is also the size 5. I'm getting the recommended positive ease with this as well. Also hitting gauge with everything too. I'm pretty sure I knit the collar with a 5mm and I've done the color work with a 6mm. I had to size up that much to hit gauge, and I even just stuck with a 6mm through the body as well. And it is the same gauge, it's just like a little bit looser. It's like 4.5 stitches per inch, and it's kind of funny. Like color work, it does pull it a little bit tighter. I'm still hitting like the right gauge even without the color work down through the body. Also, another thing to note is I did an Italian bind off on the bottom, which just looks really beautiful. It is so worth the time doing an Italian bind off. Sorry if you hear the baby noises in the background. My daughter's here behind me. But another thing to note with my lumme as well is I haven't done any additional shaping. You have the option to do shaping just below the color work, and I opted not to do that just because I'm okay with it just being like a boxy fit and being the same length front to back. It doesn't bother me too much. Now, if there's optional neckline shaping, I will do that. This also grew about 1/2 inch as well with blocking. So now I can anticipate the length on the sleeves, which I am a little bit nervous about because of the color work on the cuff. It will be hard to adjust the length on the sleeves because of the color work at the end. So I'm a little bit nervous about that, but I think it will be fine. We're just gonna go for it and see what happens. So there's my lumme sweater. I am so stoked about this sweater. I cannot wait for it to be done. And I can tell you for sure this will be a finished object by the next time I see you. Absolutely. So for next in my works in progress, I have a new cast on. I couldn't wait to start this until after I was done with my lumme. So I cast this on when my lumme was drying from blocking. And I've done a lot of work on this as well. I'm obsessed with color work right now, okay? I can't help myself. Without further ado, I present to you The King Salmon by Caitlin Hunter. This is so cute. I'm obsessed with this fish motif. Are you kidding me? I mean, come on. Gorgeous. So I'm knitting this in Berroco Remix. It has a really interesting mix of fibers. So it's 30% nylon, 27% cotton, 24% acrylic, 10% silk, and 9% linen. So no wool, which is kind of fun. And it has this really beautiful, like, tweedy look to it. I'm knitting the fish motif in the color 3991, which I think is juniper. For the body, I am knitting this in 3922. I think this is called Buttercup, but it's just a beautiful, like, mustardy kind of tweedy yellow with, like, my favorite kind of grain color. I love the tweedy bits. It has a little bit of everything. There's some, like, twiggy, like, sharp pieces that are mixed in with this too, so I find myself picking those out every once in a while. But it's a nice yarn to work with. I think it will be a really nice, like, finished object. I think the texture and the stitches looks really nice too. It's just cool. I love a good tweedy yarn. But a funny story about how I acquired this, which I guess kind of goes into acquisitions as well. Long story short, I got both of these on Facebook Marketplace and I got a crazy good deal. So I got 4 balls of the yellow and I got 5 balls of the green for $40 for all of them. That's like 2 sweater quantities, which is unbelievable. So excited about that. I kind of did up the math a little bit where if I use the green, even though I have more of it, if I use the green as the contrast color, I would be able to get another sweater out of the rest of the green that I'll have. So I'm kind of thinking, I was looking at projects on Ravelry, and I've seen a lot of Weekenders by Andrea Mowry, and I've also seen a lot of ranunculuses. I've seen a lot of people knit the ranunculus with it as well. So I've never really been inclined to knit the ranunculus because it's a little bit more feminine than what I would typically go for, but it's really pretty knit up in that yarn. I'm not sure. That might come into a future plan here at some point where I decide whatever it is I'm going to do with the green. I guess another thing to note about the sweater is I did do the short row shaping with, again, German short rows instead of the wrap and turn because I like how that looks so much more. And it looks really great with this yarn. You can barely even see like where I did my turns. I'm also knitting the size 4, which should get me the recommended positive ease for the pattern. I knit the collar with 4mm needles. I again did 10 rows, which got me 1.5 inches on the ribbing. I started the color work with 4.5mm needles and it got a little bit tight. So it was like on the 5th row of the chart, I switched to 5mm needles and that's looking a lot better. You can't even really tell where I switched it, honestly. And I think with blocking, it'll be even less obvious, which it still isn't, but you know, it always kind of loosens up after you get it wet. And I'm really interested to see how this yarn is going to block because it's not wool, obviously. So I hope it's not, I hope like my other experiences with like cotton yarns that it doesn't shrink. So we'll see about that. That is my king salmon, which I'm so excited about. I cannot wait to have that done. So I do plan to finish my lumme first because I only have the sleeves to go. And then my king salmon will be my next priority after that. And then my next whip, which is kind of like second choice knit because it's just strictly stockinette, is my step-by-step sweater by Florence Miller that I am making for my boyfriend Tyler. So I'm prioritizing this a little bit more because I gave up on the Sunday socks and he understands, but his birthday is coming up in a few weeks and I would like to have this, I would like to have this done, or at least mostly done by his birthday, because the weather is also starting to cool down a little bit here and I want him to have this sweater to be able to wear to work. Anyways, getting into the details of this one, let me show you the progress I've made. Looking gorge, pretty good, about this far. Below the sleeves, we're chucking along. So this is knit in the size 5 and I'm using the recommended yarn, which is Drops Nepal, and this is the color 8906. It's a really beautiful, almost heathered kind of yarn where it's got like different color greens and some like little specks of brown mixed in. It's a really beautiful yarn and it's nice to work with. It's a bit more rustic than I would typically go for. I think with the t-shirt underneath, he'll be able to tolerate it just fine. But even like knitting on this when it's like in my lap, it gets a little bit scratchy. So I'm not sure that I would knit with this again, but I'm really interested to see how this is going to block out because I feel like it's going to bloom up really nicely. I should also note that I'm knitting the ribbing in 4.5mm and the body is in 5.5. It's working up really nicely. It's definitely like a slow go just because it's so large being a size 5, and also like the length is gonna have to be really long too because he's a tall boy. I had him try this on like well before I had finished this ball of yarn. It was maybe like 1 inch below like splitting for sleeves and it was like a perfect crop top on him, so seeing that made me realize how much more I have to go on the body. But it's kind of like a nice break with all the color work I've been doing to just mindlessly do stockinette like while I'm watching TV. Yeah, that is my last notable work in progress. I still have a couple that are like hibernating, I guess you could say. If you want more details on those, you can see those in my first episode. There's my whips. And I think another thing to mention too would be like some light future plans, because I have the green berroco remix. So I need to decide if I want to make the weekender or the ranunculus. And maybe you have a better idea. Leave me a comment if you have any suggestions for like a pattern that kind of looks really nice with like a tweedy yarn. It's like worsted weight too, so yeah, let me know if you have any suggestions for that. And then also in my stash, I have 4 balls of Knitting for Olive merino and 4 balls of soft silk mohair in the color buckwheat. I think it's in the color wheat. And so I've been kind of considering like what I could make for that. I think I'm kind of leaning towards the Nebula by Andrea Mowry because I have the required yardage for that and the size I want to make. I think maybe the size 4, like up to the size 4, I have enough yarn. I've kind of been thinking about that in the back of my mind. It would be nice to have like a lighter weight sweater because while my mudo is DK, the king salmon and the lumme are both worsted. So it would just be nice to have like a lighter weight sweater. So I have a decent amount of yarn left over for my mudo, and I was kind of toying with the idea of maybe making like a baby version of this sweater because I think it would be so cute if me and Rowan were able to match. And I thought the same thing with my lumme too. Like maybe not doing the whole lumme motif because that would be, there's not enough room on a baby sweater to fit all of that. So I thought maybe if I could work up the stitch counts of doing just the flower motif, I think that would be super cute. And then we can have like kind of matching sweaters with that too. So yeah, maybe once I get the lumme done, I'll assess how much I have left over and kind of go from there. But I think that would be super cute because I did buy like 2 skeins of each contrast color. So I'm going to have at least 1 skein of each color left over. Maybe even like 1.5, depending on how much I use in the sweater. Yeah, I'm kind of toying with that in the back of my mind too. I think that would be super cute. Especially because the weather's starting to cool off a little bit here. And the first sweater I made for her fits her now, which isn't helpful because it's still summery. And the only other sweater I have made for her is the sweater with her name on it. Well, that's super cute. I still need to put that on her and see if it will fit her. All that to say, I would like to have a sweater for her that fits her this winter. That's always a nice like instant gratification project because it's so small. So we'll see about that. But yeah, so I think that's everything. I think we've covered everything. So with that being said, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for being here. And hopefully next time I will be wearing my lumme sweater in my next podcast. Also, one thing I want to note as well, I haven't mentioned this, but in the description, I will always link my Ravelry and my Instagram if you're interested on any of the specifics of the projects that I've talked about, or if you want to see any of the details on my previous projects I've done as well. I'm trying to be a lot better about taking more detailed notes on all of like any modifications I've made and whatever, but at least if you want to see like the size, the needle size, and the yarn that I've used, check that out. You can see everything there. And then on my Instagram as well, I'm not super good about updating regularly, but that is there too if you want to see any kind of like behind the scenes little updates and whatnot too. So just thought I would mention that. Okay, that's officially everything. So thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you in my next video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.